Well, what was the biggest modernising speech that David Cameron has made in years, indeed probably since he became Prime Minister? It was a big attempt to kind of reposition the Tory party. One of the traditional Tory articles of faith, if you like, has been that, if you work hard, you can pull yourself up by your bootstraps. That if everyone, if you work hard, you get on. This speech was saying that there are too many people in our society for whom that's not true. Hence the warning about the ethnic minority candidates for jobs who are not getting interviews because their names don't sound right. So I think there was a big effort by Cameron to kind of try and reposition the Tories, to say, look, we understand that opportunity doesn't actually mean opportunity for everybody at the moment.
Well, I thought David Cameron's conference speech was one of the most relaxed speeches I've seen him give, and I thought it was the clearest actually about what he stands for, what he believes as a Conservative and why he thinks that conservatism is right for Britain. He ran through a range of social reforms that he wants to see accomplished by the time he stands down as Conservative leader. And I think actually accidentally saying that he wasn't going to fight the 2020 election as Tory leader was one of the best things David Cameron could have done, because it set himself a deadline by which he needs to accomplish a legacy. And he's clearly sat down and thought, what do I want to do, in a way that I don't think he did before. And that really, really helped for his conference speech.
I mean, the most important message was this message about real equality. The word equality in the Tory party is not used that often. And the fact that Cameron chose to talk in this way, I think, is quite a striking moment. He was basically saying that opportunity doesn't actually mean opportunity for too many people. And I think it would be very interesting to see what he does on this discrimination agenda that he was outlining.
I think his most important messages were on social reform. I was also really struck by the way that he talked about gay marriage, about aid spending, and he expected the conference to applaud him when he talked about those things, and they did. He's won their hearts as Tory leader in a way that he hadn't in the previous Parliament, because he's won a surprise majority in an election, and they have to respect that. I think there were some not particularly good phrases, like the turnaround decade that he used in his conclusion to talk about Britain growing again, and also he talked about gender equality but then paraded his wife at the end, but I think that's something that most party leaders end up doing. The reception in the hall was very good. David Cameron got a number of standing ovations, and I was really struck by the way they applauded him quite enthusiastically on policies that weren't popular when he introduced them, such as gay marriage and development spending.
I think they liked it. I think Cameron was noticeably relaxed. He won them over talking about the election and winning a majority, and I think you had that sense in the hall. So this is the first time we've seen Cameron address the conference hall as a majority-winning Tory Prime Minister. And you could sense that shift in mood there. I think it also, they were preparing to I was quite struck by how warmly they were preparing to clap him on the real equality stuff, on his warning that the prison system isn't working. And I think it was also noticeable that when he mentioned Boris Johnson did get a standing ovation from the hall, which capped off a very good conference week for him. Well, I don't think it was quite as bravura a performance as Boris Johnson's yesterday. But I think it's the leader's speech, and that obviously makes it the most significant speech of a conference. And it's by far the longest and the chunkiest.
I think David Cameron's speech was a very good speech. There were other very good speeches too, though. Boris Johnson's speech was very, very good, and George Osborne's speech was good as well. But because David Cameron has said that he's not standing again in 2020 as Tory leader, there's not a sort of direct comparison in a way. George Osborne and Boris Johnson are being compared with one another because they're competing for the future Tory leadership. They're not competing with David Cameron or trying to undermine him.